At this airport in northwest Tasmania, one airline has historically been king.
So Rex has been here about 22, 23 years. For a long period of that time they were the sole operator. They have served our community faithfully.
About 70,000 passengers a year travel through Burnie Airport, a gateway to West Coast mining towns and Cradle Mountain.
We've got Qantas Link, who operate 2 services a day. You've got Rex, 3 services a day, and Sharp service the Bass Strait Islands from here.
Our main business is people travelling to Melbourne because for North West Coasters it's quicker to get to Melbourne than it is to get to Hobart.
For the airport managers, news last year that Rex Airlines had collapsed was worrying.
Yeah, it came as a surprise because in the regions there's always been good support and good numbers on Rex flights.
There was a lot of upset loyal customers for Rex. They've supported Rex out of here for over 20 years and they were worried about the future.
Regional Express, or Rex, is crucial to rural Australia. In some areas, it's the only airline. But Rex's future has been in limbo since July, when it entered voluntary administration. The collapse has been blamed largely on the airline's failed attempt to expand into capital city routes, competing directly with Qantas and Virgin. As Rex headed into administration, it axed those metro routes, but an $80 million loan from the federal government meant its regional routes could keep running. Administrators EY have been trying to find a buyer.
As you'd be aware, the accelerated sale process in 2024 was not successful. There were no credible bidders for the airline itself.
Last week, the federal government announced it was acquiring $50 million in debt owed to Rex Airlines' largest secured creditor.
Of course, the largest creditor could at any stage have put the company into liquidation, and we have been seeking to do everything we can to avoid that because we want to make sure that regional communities continue to have access to these services, the much needed services that they need.
The latest move makes the Commonwealth Rex's principal secured creditor and comes just months from the federal election.
We'd be happy to support the government in a bipartisan way to see Rex Airlines fly again.
It's a positive sign for the regions that the federal government's become a person or a group of significant interest on the board, that they can have a say in the future of Rex, a say in the future of who ends up owning Rex, and therefore maintain the Rex service to the regions.
Aviation expert Keith Tonkin says it's unusual that the federal government has stepped in with finance and is now acquiring debt.
The same benefits weren't extended to Bonza recently last year. They weren't extended to Virgin during COVID, and there are many other airlines in the history of Australia's aviation industry that have suffered similar circumstances but not had the benefit of government support like they have here for Rex.
This is very different from an airline like Bonza trying to operate in the leisure market, connecting secondary routes, let's say, between Sunshine Coast Airport and Melbourne. You can still travel between these two places.
A second sale process for Rex Airlines will begin next month, but there's no guarantee a buyer will emerge. The federal government now effectively controls Rex's future, and that's prompting questions about the prospect of nationalisation. Governments having a stake in airlines isn't unheard of.
Well, we have to remember that Qantas at some point was a national government airline until 1995 when it was totally privatised. We have the case of Virgin Australia recently for a small period of time being partially owned by the Queensland government as well.
Air transport expert Guy Lohmann says many overseas airlines are wholly or partially government owned.
It's less common in Australia, where the government tends to allow free competition, but in other parts of the world, in Asia, Middle East and even Europe, we do have cases of government investment in airlines.
As to whether the Commonwealth will keep an ongoing stake in Rex Airlines, that's yet to be determined.
Obviously, as a creditor, we would be seeking to get that money, that debt back through any second sale process, but that will be making its way through the voluntary administration.
If a new owner is found for Rex, getting planes in the air may be an ongoing challenge. Australia is dealing with a pilot shortage, and much of Rex's ageing fleet is grounded.
There's a really significant supply chain challenge in getting equipment, whether it's smaller turboprop aircraft such as a Saab 340 or even the most modern aircraft due to engine supply issues. So it's certainly one of those issues that you'd rather not have if you're trying to sell an airline that's in trouble.
There is another cloud hanging over Rex. The corporate regulator is suing the collapsed airline and 3 current and 1 former director, accusing them of serious governance failures. All have indicated they'll be defending the allegations. Those on the ground just want to know they'll keep seeing planes in regional skies.
Yeah, I'd love to see a bit of certainty from Rex to continue operating here in the Burnie, whether it's for our local community or their staff. It would be good to see Rex be able to continue on.